Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, it's Angel Ortega. A lot to talk about this week. Obviously, we got to cover UFC 278. KSI is returning this Saturday, and then we have a lot of MMA and boxing news to go over. Before all that, we are brought to you by Rogue Energy. If you want 10% off your order at RogueEnergy.com, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. This code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. I had a sore throat this weekend, wasn't feeling too well, but guess what? I stay hydrated through my Rogue Energy shaker bottle. Got me all the nutrients I needed, kept me feeling good, as good as I could be at the time because I was sick. And without Rogue Energy, I would not have been able to make it through. So, RogueEnergy.com, code SOUNDOFF at checkout. Support yourself and support us as well with code SOUNDOFF. Last Saturday night, Salt Lake City and Utah, UFC 278. Look, man, no other way to say it. Leon Edwards is the new UFC welterweight champion. I mean, one of the greatest knockouts in the history of the sport. Round one, Leon gets a shocking takedown, takes the back, nearly gets a sub. But then from there, it was all Kamaru. He rallies back. He gets some takedowns of his own. And we're down to the final minute of round 5. And it looks like Kamaru's just coasting to another title defense, showing why he's one of the greatest of all time. But then Leon Edwards, Rocky, with his Rocky moment, knocking out the champion with a head kick, puts him to sleep instantly, walk-off knockout. Look at him now, Angel. Look at him now. Give me your thoughts on the win. Give me your thoughts on the knockout and just your reaction.
Insanity, man. Like I told you a little bit in the green room. I said something. I was like, I don't think we'll be able to finish him with hands. I think we'll have to do it with some sort of head kick or something. And it happened, man. I'm not saying this. I didn't say this like right before the round or anything. I think I said this like early on in the, even pre-fight maybe. Or I might be wrong. I might have said this during the Luke fight, saying that Luke should have done that if he does take Paulo out. I think it'll be with a head kick or something rather than with his punches. Regardless, though. He set it up. He threw it from the same side he threw the punch. Hit it well. It's been a thing that we're seeing now. A lot of like fighters that do a lot of analysis have been talking about how the fighters are hiding the punch and throwing the kick from the same side. Because usually how it's traditionally done is you throw the punch and then you hide the punch behind that, but it comes from the opposite leg. So if you're throwing from the left, it comes from the right leg rather than throwing from the left and throwing with the left. So. We've seen it twice now. I think we saw it with Brian Battle. I think Brian Battle did the same thing with his knockout, similar setup. Mm-hmm. And obviously they do a number of different combinations, like number of different patterns leading into it. And then when the time is right, they set it up and throw the head kick coming up from the same side. I mean, it's beautiful technique, man. It's well done. And he did it, but I'm not going to lie to you, Josh. It was looking very grim there for a bit. It was looking like we were going to have another Kamaru Usman title defense. He was going to tie Anderson Silva for the record. He does not. It is still held by the great Anderson Silva. And, man, we're getting a trilogy, Josh. Another trilogy. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about because, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but like.
No, go ahead. No.
Yeah, with that division, man, like everybody talks about how like good Colby is and Masvidal's a star and like you have these young lions like Hamzat's coming up, but it's Leon Edwards who's getting the trilogy. Like that's kind of crazy to think about. Like there's a guy that's been so overlooked, nobody talks about him. Even the style defense, everybody's just like, yeah, it's another one for Kamaru to stay busy before he fights Hamzat. Like that's. But now he's champ, man. I mean, it's crazy to think about. But sorry not to cut you off, but go ahead.
Oh man, anybody can do it. And he did it. He fought him before. And like you said, that first round was a little bit scary, and then after that it looked like Kamaru was there. But I will say this, Josh, no one brought this up in anything. I've listened to a few podcasts. Kamaru wasn't trying to get him out of there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I never felt at any moment like, damn, Kamaru's trying to get this man out of here. He's trying to catch him in submission. He's getting full guard, he's throwing down punches, he's laying fucking hammer, whatever it may be, he's piecing up on feet. Nothing like that. I never thought that at any moment I didn't think Kamaru was going to get him out. And obviously, it's hard to get out a guy of that caliber, in a fight, right? It's a championship fight. It's hard to put anybody out, but shit, man, they put you out to get the title, so.
Yeah.
Now he knows, man. I mean, he's going to have to go back to the lab and, let me tell you this, not gonna lie to you, Josh. I thought our boy Leon Edwards checked out there for a bit, dude. It didn't seem like he was fully there for a minute. His coaches were talking to him, and it didn't seem like he was fully paying attention. But they were coming at him. They were telling him, "Hey, this is what you need to do. You're loose. You need to go out there and do this, this, and that." They were one of the prime reasons he was able to win this fight because it seemed like they really tried to keep him in it, and it's because he kind of seemed checked out there for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's part of what made the upset even greater because Dean Thomas, the commentary team, they're all pretty much, they even said it, like, we were writing his eulogy. Like, it was over. He looked demoralized. But obviously even he admitted, like, I was getting a little bit down, but my coaches, they gave me that talk and I realized what I had to do, and he's got that championship spirit, man. He really, really does. It's one of the craziest knockouts in the history of the sport, given the stakes, given everything that had happened. And, Kamaru not going for the finish, I think he's going to regret that. Because there were some moments there where, like, Kamaru got the takedown, and he would end up in full guard, and he would just kind of, like, land some strikes, and then he'd kind of go back to wrestling and try to focus more on position. That would allow Leon to get up, and they just hang out in the clinch for a little bit. Like, there were a lot of moments. And I understand it was that elevation. I think that's the biggest thing that, had an impact on the card, honestly.
Everybody, bro.
Everybody was gassed. Everybody, I don't think anybody realized just how bad it was going to be. Especially the co-main event, which we'll get onto, but
there's more to that too, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. But regardless, Leon Edwards, dude, like, even I predict him to win, and I've said for a long time now that Leon Edwards is that guy. Like, he could pull this off. He's that good. Never in a million years would I expect it to happen that way. That's just, it was insane. It was one of the greatest knockouts ever. As far as what's next, I think it's going to be a trilogy next. I think we know that. And, obviously it's not confirmed, but Dana said maybe Wembley Stadium, which, if they do that shit in Wembley, dog, that would be crazy. Because UFC's really
He's never been down for that.
No, they've done stadium shows in the past. Obviously, Izzy versus Whitaker, Holm versus Rousey, GSP when he had a couple defenses up in Canada, but those are very, very rare. And Leon may be getting that fight in his home country at the biggest stage, which is awesome to see, dude.
They're gonna have to stack that card, bro, with Patty and Molly and a bunch of other good guys.
Tom Aspinall,
he's out for a little bit, but hopefully by that time he can come back.
Yeah. Hope so, because, dude, like, if they can do that card, that would be insane. But, look, man, as good as the main event was, I feel like it really took a big benefit from the co-main event.
Yes, sir.
So, Luke Rockhold facing off against Paulo Costa. I think everybody kind of had an idea of how this is going to go. It was either going to be Paulo just getting a brutal, brutal knockout, or Luke maybe getting the submission, just pulling something out of his ass, honestly. But, instead, I think we got the result that nobody really expected, and it was a 3-round war. And Luke Rockhold in his final fight going out on his fucking shield. In round 1 he got knocked down, and I was like, well, here we go,
Oh, you're telling me, bro.
Luke should have stayed retired, but then he made up his mind. He's like, I got two roads to go down. I can take an out right here, or I can stay and fight at elevation against this top 5 Brazilian killer nicknamed the Eraser, who can literally he's going to try and murder me for the next 15 minutes. And Luke Rockhold, who has been criticized for taking that first option way too many times, he said fucking bit down on the mouthpiece and decided to walk through the fire. And he did not get the win. He lost via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. But man, one of the greatest fights of the year and one of the greatest fights I've seen in a long time. Angel, give me your thoughts, man.
Dude, Luke might have lost the fight, but man, did he win in my eyes. Let me tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
What a way to go out. It was very sad though too, Josh, because you could see that he was fucking hurting, dude. Like, you could tell, like, the damage he took was just like, he was like, damn, I don't ever want to feel like this again. You know what I mean? I never want to fight again. I think that fight really did him. And look, I don't know. Maybe if the fight goes a little different, maybe he doesn't get as much damage. Maybe he reconsiders and wants to take one more. But I think he really, after that fight, you kind of sit back and he's like, yeah, dude, this shit sucks. You know, he's like, I do not want to be punched. I do not want to be kicked. I'm done. But man, dude, there were let me tell you this, Josh, in a weird way. I do think somehow, some way, Luke could have won that fight.
No, I don't even, no, he wasn't that far away from winning that fight. I mean, dude, he knocked down Paulo at the start of round 3, right?
I don't know, dude, but he laid some bomb. Paulo has a fucking chin, dude, let me tell you. That man...
Greatest chin in the game, at least at middleweight. I feel pretty comfortable saying that.
At middleweight, yes, dude, that man ate some fucking bombs from Luke Rockhold, and took some fat body shots too, dude. Some nice kicks out of Luke, dude. Like, he had a sick kick.
Dude, I think you're right. I think he knew, man. I think he knew that was going to be his last fight because he was going out there and he was throwing everything. Like, he a lot of, in Luke's later career, he's not throwing the kicks, you know what I mean? But, like, he was just saying, fuck it. And he was throwing everything that he had.
It's sad though, like I told you. It felt like, you know, and I'm sad that I didn't get to experience that Luke Rockhold era, but everybody says that Luke Rockhold hadn't been Luke Rockhold for a long time. I think Luke was finally himself again in this fight. I think we got to see him be himself again one last time. Sadly, he's older. Elevation played a factor. He fought a very tough dude. He put it all out there. I loved the fight. There was moments in there where I thought he was going to come back and win somehow. And he landed some heavy shots. It didn't happen, but man, was I satisfied. And I think that's a heck of and that's the kind of fight you want to go on out, you know. And sadly it was a loss, but win or lose, I think it was still a great fight.
No, 100%. And I think, you know, you were sad, but for me, dude, like, I think that's kind of the perfect end to his career. I really do think that, because, like, Luke Rockhold in his prime was that guy, but like you said, he's not been Luke Rockhold for a long time. Ever since he lost to Bisping, it just looked like his confidence was gone. He was not comfortable standing. He had a lot of injuries. And then he took all that time off, and he talked about how, like, he had to find himself, and he went through a lot of shit, dude. Like, he became sober. I know he mentioned he's like kind of like an alcoholic, and he was going through a lot of shit. He thought he was going to be a dad, and that did not end up happening. And he just went through a lot, man. And for him to be a guy who's been clowned on for so long, like, oh, he's the pretty boy. People make fun of him for being like a model and shit. And they make fun of him for getting knocked out by, you know, could you imagine getting knocked out by Yoel Romero? That's crazy, bro. That would never happen. You know what I mean?
Who does a Yoel Romero knockout, right?
Right, crazy, dude. But anyway, so he comes back and he's fighting this monster. Like, he called for the matchup with the guy that nobody in the division wants to face. Like, Izzy beat him, but outside of that, like, I mean, I understand even Marvin beat him, but Marvin had to walk through hell to do it, you know? And Luke Rockhold, dude, going in there, just throwing everything that he had left. He put it all into that 15 minutes. And, that's what the sport's about, man. I mean, that was just an epic moment, and seeing him get the respect from the crowd and him just putting it all out. Because dude, I don't know if his nose was broken, but like, he was gassed.
Pretty sure it was.
30 minutes into the fight. They're fighting Elevation, and like you mentioned, I'm pretty sure his nose is broken.
I think his jaw might have broken too. I heard someone talking about that too. Like, it was fun. He took some damage.
He did. He took a lot of damage. For him to just stay in there.
He became Derek Elkins for a bit there.
He did. And for him, like, that moment, I believe in the second or third round, where he literally yells, "Fuck you," and he lands that huge left hand and, like, rocks Paulo. Like, that's a moment that you're going to see in the highlight reel for a long time. And I believe he came out and dropped him at the start of round 3 too. Like, the fact that if that was, here's the thing, like, it's crazy to think about, because, like, I think if that was anybody else in there, they lose. If it was not Paulo Costa, I think he knocks out damn near everybody in the middleweight division with those shots. But, you know, that's not what happened, and he ends up leaving on a loss, but
hey,
kind of a moral victory, you know?
Like I said on the night of, what do you expect out of a 37, 38-year-old Luke Rockhold at this point? He exceeded all expectations.
Damn right he did. I mean, about to be 38 years old. He has not fought in 3 years, and he'd been knocked out 2 straight times whenever he left the game, you know? So for him to come back and do what he did, just incredible. So, happy trails to Luke, man. I mean, a hell of a career. Nothing to be ashamed of. But, yeah, man. That was my favorite fight in the card. But, I mean, if we're gonna
It's hard to compete, right? Like,
yeah.
That's what you're,
Yeah, and then this fight just bummed me out. But Murad Dvalishvili defeating Jose Aldo via decision. Jose looked good in round 1. I thought he was landing some good strikes, especially on the counter. But then fighting up at elevation, man, looked like he got tired because Murad just always moving forward. He could not get a takedown, but he held him against the fence for essentially the last 10 minutes. He gets the dub. What do you think, man? I don't have too much to say about this one.
it was a pretty safe win. Kind of shitty on Jose Aldo's part, right? But it is what it is. And but really impressed with the takedown defense, bro. He did not get taken down a single time. Like, that was I think he might have had one official one, but even then he got, like, right back up. Like, it was pretty wild. Like, I was impressed. And in respect to Merab, he gave a lot of love to his training partner, Aljamain. I know some people made fun of him for that, but I gotta respect that, man. You know what I mean? And that's something you gotta admire. And he said, he's like, before I found this gym and I met this guy and I started training with him, he made me feel like a fucking amateur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty respectable to say. And he's like, now this guy's champ. And he went on to say a bunch of other shit, but it was just, I don't know. I thought it was a wholesome moment.
No, and Merab's a good dude, and I'm happy that he got the win for his sake. But yeah, man.
Is it the end of Jose Aldo, Josh?
I think so. I mean, Merab said that Jose told me he was done. So
I think I talked about it to you too. I was like, if the title isn't in the books for him, I don't think he wants to fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is completely fine. I mean,
and that's fine and all, but
hey, man, as long as he's not getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, it is frustrating though, because man, that 3-fight run where he just looked so good and he was going against all the odds and he just ran into that one guy, like.
And man, I think he could have. I don't know. I had some hope for him. I thought maybe he could have won this. Maybe it was more than just the elevation, but
I mean, he made it close in rounds 1 and 2, and then just got tired, man.
Yeah,
he's old.
He is. It happens.
But yeah, man, that's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, I mean, not too many thoughts on this one. Honestly, not really too many thoughts. We'll talk about it later if Jose like confirms his retirement or something. But as for this fight, I mean, I don't think Merab's really going to be moving too much in the rankings just for the type of performance that it was. And I don't think Jose is going to fall too much, except his title hopes are kind of dashed. But yeah, man, it was what it was. Let's move on. But as far as next up on the card, a little bit of weird placement for this one. Lucy Padavalova versus Wu Yaonan. In the end, I thought it was actually a pretty solid fight. Lucy Padavalova gets, in her UFC return, gets a big TKO finish in the second round. She's now won something like, I believe, 6 out of 7. So solid run for her. And what do you think about her performance?
It was good. I thought her opponent looked very small in comparison to her. Like, noticeably smaller. Like, should have been in a different weight class smaller. Cause she was out muscling the shit out of her. Yeah,
and it's interesting because Wu Yaonan used to fight up at bantamweight. But then again, according to her wiki, Lucy Padavalova was fought as high as like 145. So she's big for the weight class. But
there's a factor there too.
Yeah. Overall, solid performance for her. I mean, there's not a whole lot of really say about this one just because it was kind of weird that it was even on the main card. But I mean, it was a solid performance though. Gotta go ahead and give her props to that one. It was a very good performance, and no better way to come back to the UFC than with a second round TKO. You know what I mean? So solid performance by her. And we'll see what happens to her in the future. But opening up the main card, dude, Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker. I said it last week that like this is kind of the equivalent of like a squash match on paper. Like, in pro wrestling, whenever they want to go out and they'll bring in some guy that you've never heard of and they send out like this big monster to destroy him. That was this fight. And yeah, Tyson Pedro knocks him out. It was more a TKO really, body kick. And then he ends up getting the finish just a minute in. I mean, Tyson Pedro, dude, he took off all that time. Guy with so much potential. He missed a lot of time due to injuries, working on himself, getting better. And now he's in his prime, and he's 2 fights in, dude, looking damn good. What do you think about his performance?
He's building himself up, and it seems like he's gonna be a really marketable guy. Very, very fun style. And he's doing what he has to do in the octagon, man. He's finishing fights, and that's what people like to see. Obviously, I think they're trying to build him up, trying to give him some confidence, and eventually they're going to give him some ranked opponents over time. I think they're going to take it slow with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seemed like last time they really tried to speed him up, and that was just not the move at the time.
No, it wasn't. I mean, if you look at Tyson Pedro's, I mean, he's only, like, he just turned 30, dude. Like, he got in the UFC back in 2016, so it would have been, 24? And he was fighting Ilir Latifi. Like, he debuted against Khalil Roundtree, then Paul Craig. Ilir Latifi fought Ovince St. Preux, Shogun Hua. In that Shogun fight, he got really badly injured. He apparently had to get entire, like, knee reconstruction surgery after that one. But, since he's come back to, they're taking him slower. I mean, he faced Ike Villanueva, who I like Ike, but he comes to swing and bang. That's kind of a very good matchup for Tyson Pedro. And Harry Hunsucker, I mean, we kind of know the story with him so far. 0-2, very lopsided, even got knocked out of the Contender Series. So we kind of knew what this one was going in. I will give, real quickly, I do want to give Harry Hunsucker a quick credit. Dude looked in great shape. I mean, he looked like he was in really, really good shape. For him to come down from heavyweight, I hope they give him one more shot, dude. I really do. Cause he's been knocked out three times, but like, guy put in the effort, and I didn't think he looked too bad until he got caught. Granted, it was only a minute in, but I mean, yep. I'd like to see him get one more shot.
We want to see what the full weight change can do.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy too, and God knows they're not hurting for talent. So I mean, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Tyson Pedro, dude, solid win by him, and I'm happy to see him back. Normally I ask like, which fight scene we talk about. I think it makes sense just to go one down. Marcin Tybura taking on Alexander Romanov. He wins via majority decision. One, did you agree with the scorecard? And two, what's your big takeaway from this one? Because I know we talked about a lot about Romanov and his kind of potential in this division. And this loss isn't a huge setback, but it does give him the first L of his career. So it does.
But I don't think it does a lot, because I think Romanov is still a good guy. I also think he got gassed again. But credit to Tybura, though, he got tired, but he had enough in the tank to keep going and kind of turned the tide, which was very good. And he kept coming forward, putting him on his back foot, and made a difficult night for Romanov.
Mm-hmm. He did. And in that first round, like, part of me wonders what would happen if this fight did not take place at elevation. Because in that first round, Romanov was slinging him around, dude. Like, he looked really, really good. Obviously, he ended up gassing. And that's not the entire reason for his L, because you got to give Tybura some credit. He's very, very good. Especially what he does. Like, he's a very, like, not a gifted heavyweight physically, but like the guy just works hard, dude. You could tell. And the fact that he was able to still push in the pace and still doing what he could in rounds 2 and 3, especially after Romanov gas. But yeah, man, solid performance by him. Obviously, Romanov, he took the loss, but guy's still relatively young for the heavyweight division. I'm not worried about him whatsoever. I still think he's a lot of potential. But yeah, that was his first loss of his career. As far as the rest of the card goes, what fights do you most want to talk about?
Let me pull it up here. I have it right here in front of me. Oh, man. When did we talk about? Not because of the performance, but because of the situation that occurred in it. Sean Whitson, Luis Saldana, what a fuck up, man, right?
Yeah.
Knee on the ground opponent. I mean, fuck, man. I love Luis Saldana a lot, man. He was one of those guys that I saw in the Contender Series when he won his fight. He came in, fought Jordan Griffin, had a solid performance, saw him lose to Austin Lingo, came back against Bruno Souza, solid performance there. And yeah, man, it just, against Sean Woodson, bro, it was just fucking depressing, because it was so bitter, man, because he really should have won that fight. He could have won it. He put him down, and he just had to finish it out, and he just fucking knees the guy, and it was just such a shit way to end a fight, man, and in a draw too. It was just he's gonna go back and look at that and be kick himself for it.
For sure, but he is a talented guy. And just one small mistake. I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, it was kind of a shitty way the way the fight went. I mean, yeah, I'm not too worried about him. But yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining fight at least. I thought it was a good fight. But yeah, man, as far as the rest of the card goes, Jared Gordon, I thought, picked up a really solid win over Leonardo Santos. Probably the best win of his career to date. Leonardo Santos is just, yeah, he's older, but dude's tricky for everybody in the division. We're like, you can very well aware of that by now. But he is now riding a 3-fight losing streak, so it is what it is. Amir Albazi defeating Francisco Figueiredo via submission. Amir Albazi, he's really, really good. Only loss, he's 15-1 now. He's 3-0 in the UFC. Only loss came to Jose Shorty Torres back in April 2019.
That's a good guy too.
Yeah, Shorty Torres. I'm still kind of pissed off that they cut him.
They'll bring him back, right? They have to. Like he's been gone for a little bit, and he's on a little streak outside of the UFC, right?
Is he? I can't even think the last time I heard about him.
He fought in 2021. He's 10-1 now.
Yeah, he's 10-1-1. Yeah, dude was really, really good, and then he got the one loss to Alex Perez, and then they just cut him because that was at the time whenever they were thinking about getting rid of the flyweight division. I thought that was really shitty, but yeah, Jose Torres is really, really good, and that's not a huge loss. So Amir Albazi is the real deal, dude. Like 3 fights in, he's only 28 years old. He's really good. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future. But yeah, man, solid card all around. I mean, it was one of those cards that, like, on paper, you probably weren't that excited for it, but god damn, dude, especially the main event, the co-main event, and a couple of those fights on the other card, they really did live up to the hype, dude. So yeah, man, overall solid card, very, very solid card. But Angel, for the first time in a long time, we do not have UFC this week. In fact, we don't have any MMA at all. So, and there's not exactly huge boxing, but there is influencer boxing. Angels, let's just crack into this one, man. Titled 2 Fights, 1 Night. KSI will be fighting 2 men this Saturday night from the O2 Arena in London, England. This card overall is very, very solid in my opinion. I mean, I think in terms of like influencer boxing, sometimes they're hit or miss. This card has a lot of good matchups, and even as somebody who's like doesn't really like the last couple big influencer cards, I haven't really like known a whole lot of people. I haven't really cared too much. You can tell all the people fighting on this card taking it very seriously. A couple of big names in here. Sam Hyde's on this one. I think he's a very funny comedian.
That's the biggest name, right?
I mean, I love Sam Hyde. He's a really, really funny comedian. I like him. Yeah, man. So they have a pretty solid card, and I'm not really sure how to go about this one, just because like the way how it's structured. But
I haven't seen it, by the way. If you can you pass me a link?
It's on Wiki, so.
Oh, okay. Then I'll just do that real quick. Or if you can still pass me a link, it'd be
yeah, I just sent it to you in the chat. But I
appreciate it.
I guess we'll just go ahead and hit off, because technically the way this is gonna work is and I broke this news, by the way. KSI.
Oh my god, Josh, really? Oh my god, I can't believe that.
All I'm saying is, man, I got sources. I got sources.
You got that insider info, dude?
Well, hey, I'm the one who reported this is a professional. Both these fights are professional, because everybody was like, how is this going to happen? It's got to be exhibition fights, you know? That's all I'm saying. I reached out. I do my homework on this shit, okay? But, yeah, man, so this is how this is going to work. KSI is going to open up the card against Swarms.
That's fucking crazy. The main event guy is opening up the card.
Yep, he is opening up the card. And
what if he fucking lost, Josh? First fight of the night.
You get to see. We're going to see. So yeah, man, KSI is going to be opening up the card against Swarms. If you guys don't know about Swarms, which I did not, I've done some research on the kid. He's 25, out of London, a rapper who did a song with KSI. They're not friends, but they did collab on one song apparently. I guess he used to be a former like semi-pro soccer player, I guess. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about this one. Swarms was the backup, and that's why he's in this role, but nobody was excited for the matchup. That's why JJ's fighting twice. Angel, give me your thoughts on this matchup. I mean, I'm assuming that he's going to get the job done, but how do you think he's going to get the job done?
Dude, he must be really thinking he's going to knock the fuck out of Swarms or something to fight twice in one night.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
And these are both his 2 boxing matches are the only ones that are 6-round bouts. Everybody else gets 6 rounds. Everybody else gets 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if both fights are going to be 6 rounds. I know that the original one was like the original fight one was going to be 6. I don't know if they're both going to be 6, but
they both say 6, bro. Let's just roll with it.
Yeah, we're just going to roll 6 according to Wiki. But yeah, man. Pretty fucking crazy. I mean, and because that main event though, I mean, that's the one that's more interesting. But when it comes to Swarms, this kid's never had an amateur or professional boxing match. I guess he's been in training the whole time. Because he was the backup, like the contractually obligated backup, but he's still trying to learn boxing with his been to a couple of months. So I'm assuming KSI is going to get this one done easy. I mean, I don't think him and his team are like, they're not going to risk missing out on like the Jake Paul bag or whatever it may be. I mean, because after this, it's all big fights. By having him like face somebody actually good. So I'm assuming JJ's going to get a big knockout here. I'm assuming you're in agreement.
I feel like that's what they're setting him up for. Or
Yeah.
hoping to, at least. Yeah,
that's what I'm assuming. I mean, I can't find shit about this kid in terms of his boxing experience. So yeah, because I've been having to write about this stuff. So I can't really find too much about him. So yeah, I'm assuming he'll win this one easy. But as far as the rest of the card goes, man, what fights are you most looking forward to? Because normally we do like a general preview, but the way this card is structured is kind of weird because we just talked about KSI's first, big fight. And I mean, which fights are you most looking forward to? And what do you think about some of these other matchups on the card?
I think the most interesting bout on the card is going to be Temper versus Slim, dude. Slim is one of the guys in YouTube boxing who I think he's one of the best guys who doesn't get enough credit. And I think just because of maybe his kind of the world of YouTuber he comes from, he doesn't get a lot of love. But he has a big following in the Middle East. And I think obviously with the Middle East and all the money that's out there and the kind of shows he's been, dude, we've seen the kind of money they can bring in and the kind of shows they could set up, man. I mean, that's big for the sport. And he has talent. He has hands. I mean, he's long and skinny, but he's put some dudes to sleep, dude. And no one else has really done that in the YouTube boxing space outside of, Jake, but he's kind of moved on to bigger and to a certain extent harder opponents than what any YouTubers fought, right? And, along with that, and obviously KSI's main event, and he's going to be fighting a pro boxer. Obviously not the best record, but Josh, we talked about this. These guys, these journeymen, you just never know with them, dude, because they can come out here and surprise you because these guys have been training a long time too. It's just that the guys that they're fighting, the guys they're going up against are just levels ahead, but these guys are still good. They could fuck up the average guy on the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did some digging into this kid. I watched a couple of his fights. He's not bad. He's not very bad at all. He seems to be technically pretty good, but defensive leaves a lot to be desired, and he's also a lot smaller than JJ. I mean, he's 2-5. I know that he's had some amateur fights. He fights around 154, and he's going to be coming up all the way to 180 for this fight.
Dude, he's going to be weighing in with some phones in his pocket, bro.
Yeah, according to Mams, KSI's manager, he weighed in 175 when they got the call because they wanted to make sure they could make the fight. But he's not very bad, really. I mean, he's not terrible. I mean, if you look at a couple of his fights, he's not technically very bad or anything. He's just, he's all right. He's a journeyman. That's what he's looking like. But even then, like a lot of these journeymen, is it better to there's not a whole lot that JJ can really do at this point in his career. I mean, he's literally 1-0. It is what it is. And
bro, I just saw Swarm's height, bro. Swarm's is 5'5", Josh.
No, that's I'm pretty sure that's it. That's like a
someone edited it because you can edit this shit.
Google it. Swarm's is 5'8", I think.
Which
5'8" or 5'9".
If you meet in the middle, he's probably 5'7".
Yeah, apparently he's 5'8".
That is comedy, bro. Whoever did that shit is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyways, yeah, he's 5'8" or 5'9" according to the other places I'm seeing. But yeah, man, I mean, when it comes to like you mentioned FaZe Temper and Slim, that's going to be probably the most technically best looking fight on the card.
I
thought Temper looked really, really good in his last fight against King Kenny. I thought he looked really, really good, and he got the dub, obviously.
Who's on the undercard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And King Kenny, they're having to fight FaZe Sensei. Jesus Christ, why would
Yeah, they didn't really do him any favors there. I guess the FaZe is just trying to get revenge.
No, I mean just the balls though to take that fight. I mean,
Sensei dropped a man with a body shot, bro.
Sensei could probably fuck up everybody on this card. I mean, that's just he's doing it longer.
He called the shot too, dude. He said, "I'm gonna drop him with a body shot. Watch."
Yeah, and I mean, FaZe Sensei is like a legitimately good guy. I mean, King Kenny's gonna have to bring that dog, but even then, I don't know if it'll be enough.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised he decided to make the fight, but yeah, man, Slim's really, really good from what I've seen. Boxing wise, you don't really hear about him too often, but in comparison to a lot of the other guys, but I think he's pretty fucking good.
I mean, this is his opportunity, dude. I mean, if he ices Tommy, Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, Scott's the limit after that. He said if he wins, he wants to fight Gibb next. Because Gibb's going to be fighting in about 2 or 3 weeks, September 10th.
And Gibb has to win that one if they want to make that happen.
Yeah, and by the way, this is Angel. That fight is for the ICB light heavyweight title. So,
I saw that they made the titles for this. What is it? Influencer? What?
It's like influencer something boxing.
Yeah.
Because all the fights are being regulated by the PBA, the Professional Boxing Association. They're like, let's give these guys something to fight for. So JJ's fight against Swarms is for the cruiserweight title, and Temper versus Slim is for the light heavyweight title.
That's wild.
Yeah, so interesting stuff. I think the fight's gonna be very, very good. I'd be lying if I said that the fights I'm most looking forward to though. Deji versus Fousey.
There's a lot of the line there for those boys. Both redemption fights, bro.
Yeah, I mean Fousey's only 1-1, but I'll be goddamn if he looked like
he got the shit beat out of him, bro.
He looked like he had never put on boxing gloves in his life.
That boy got beat up, man.
He did, and I understand. Wasn't he fighting Slim?
Yes, dude. I would have thrown in the towel.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I've always said this. Like, you can lose a fight, but it's how you look when you lose the fight. And he got the shit kicked out of him, dude. Like, it was rough to watch. And so he's looking for redemption. And Deji, who is 0-3 in, like, granted, one of those was a split decision. The other one, he fought Jake Paul, and he actually gave Jake might be his closest fight of his career to date. I mean, besides, like, Tyron Woodley won, honestly. He's 0-3, but he's shown some promise. He just needs to put it all together. And now he's fighting a guy that's kind of his commensurate skill level, who looked really fucking bad in his one fight. You know what? Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. As far as like how that fight is going to go. It's just because it seems like it's a meme fight. I even saw that like Misfits Boxing posted earlier today, funnily enough, that like they posted like not JJ, excuse me, Deji's career to date, and it was like 5th round TKO loss to Jake Paul, and then it was 2nd round TKO loss to Vinny Hacker. And then, like, the post is kind of fucked up when you really think about it.
They did my boy dirty, didn't they?
They did. I just sent it to you. But yeah, it's kind of fucked up, man. And then, obviously the split decision loss to Alex Asabi.
Robbery,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, terrible decision. I thought it would have been funny if they just gave him the dub just for the fuck of it. But yeah, man, I mean, this is kind of an interesting card. And obviously the other fight I'm really looking forward to, I mentioned him, the Candyman, Sam Hyde, at heavyweight, facing I Am Thompson. Sam Hyde, obviously, comedian, kind of a controversial guy, but I know that he helped train our boy Harley from Epic Mealtime for his boxing match, and Harley scored a 2nd round knockout win. So, he's got some skills. He doesn't really have any skills, but he's a guy that is a hard worker. I've seen a lot of his training stuff, and he's a pretty funny guy, and I hope he gets the win, man. But now I think it's time that we talked about the undercard. Let's talk about the main event for a little bit longer. KSI versus Luis Alcatraz Pineda. Coming in here on very short notice. Obviously he's supposed to fight. This card's had so many, it's had so much stuff, man. Cause obviously KSI, let's just remember real quickly. This all started with KSI versus Alex Asabi. And then, get pulled out of the fight. So then Swarms got inserted, and then it turned from that to KSI versus Swarms versus Ivan Nikolov, who we did not realize when we talked about him last week is a literal neo-Nazi.
He had a white power tattoo on his stomach, among other tattoos on his body referencing neo-Nazi group symbols, along with the tattoos of many pictures of Nikolov surrounded by many swastikas. We didn't know all that. What the fuck?
No, we had no idea. And so now he's fighting Luis Alcatraz Pineda, who we mentioned earlier. Kid fights anywhere from 147 to 154, I think is the highest he's fought. According to Mams, I don't remember his last name, but KSI's manager, he weighed 175 when he got the call. He's 2-5. He's lost by knockout 4 times. I know that he's had some amateur fights. He's 23 years old. He's younger than JJ. So, Angel, I'm assuming, I think he wins both fights. I think KSI, I don't think that he'd do this if, you know, I don't think he would do this, and I don't think he would take these 2 fights if he's not entirely sure. I don't think his team is entirely sure if he's going to get the win. I'm assuming you're on the same page.
Yeah, dude, it's hard to fight twice in one night. I'm assuming they thought that this is pretty bagged up.
Of course, and look, man, after this, sky's the limit. I think if JJ goes out and wins both these fights, I mean, I don't know who he would fight next. Maybe McBroom or somebody else, if he beats Gibb, obviously. I mean, maybe even Wasabi. I mean, it's pretty clear that he still wants, even though he's taken 2 fights in one night, he still does want one more tune-up before he fights Jake at least. So, we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, sky's the limit if he wins both these, and I think he does. Remember, this is on pay-per-view, guys. This is on pay-per-view for, I think, $10.
They're doing it right.
They are. They know that this is not professional boxing, and, even then, they put a stacked undercard, man. Like, a lot of these fights are pretty fucking interesting. 2 world title fights.
2 world title fights.
I tried to keep a straight face, but I couldn't. Yeah, 2 world title fights. You know, this is the Swarms, the future GOAT. I mean, this is about as good as it gets, you know? Yeah, just excited. I'm actually pretty excited for this one.
I think it's going to be a fun night.
I think so, too. And, because it's in the UK, it's going down, like, really early.
Is it really? Like our time?
I think it's happening at noon.
Fuck.
Maybe it'll be around 1. I can't remember, but it's definitely earlier in the day, and I didn't even realize that, so I may have to work for this one, but yeah. Anyways, man, real quickly, just go ahead and move on to, since that's essentially all there is to really talk about on that card, but we're going to go and move on to some news. Biggest story, I think, of the weekend, with the exception of, obviously, UFC, Alexander Rusik defeating Anthony Joshua via split decision. One judge actually is medically blind, so I thought it was kind of strange that they had him judging the fight.
Wait, yeah, repeat that one more time?
Yeah, one of the judges was blind, and that's how Joshua actually got a scorecard, so it's pretty crazy.
Stop.
Joshua, the scorecards are 115-113 Joshua, 115-113 Usyk, and 116-112. I gave Usyk 8 rounds, although I will concede that there was probably one round I probably could have gave to Joshua, but at bare minimum, it's a pretty clear 7-5. Yeah, man, it's either incompetence or fucking just corruption that Joshua got a scorecard. But hey, man, Usyk's still champion, split decision. It is what it is. Now they're hoping to fight Tyson Fury.
Yes, Josh, Tommy Fury. The better Fury.
My mind's on the YouTube boxing, man. That's my bad. But yeah, man, hoping to fight Tyson Fury next. But yeah, after the fight, Joshua had a little bit of a meltdown, which kind of made some news. But yeah, man, give me your thoughts on the fight if you watched it and what your general takeaways were.
I did try to catch a bit of it. I'm not going to be able to give like a great analysis because I was so conflicted on what to watch because, you know, we had Mike Perry, we had PFL. From the little bit I saw, man, Joshua came in with a better game plan, I think, than in his last bout. He looked better, but it just wasn't enough, man. Rusik just did all the right things he had to do, came out, and he was just too quick for him. Rusik was too quick. He was moving out of the way at the right times. He was changing up the angles. It was just very difficult for Joshua to be able to catch this man. You know, he wasn't able to throw the as fast as combinations as Usyk could and get out of the space and time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing, man. It's like it's kind of shitty too because Joshua, I'd say that might even be the best Anthony Joshua we've ever seen. I feel pretty strongly saying that, dude. Like he looked. Whenever he's throwing to the body, he was landing great combinations. He was looking really, really good, dude. And just, he couldn't, in round 9, if I remember correctly, he was round 9 to round 10, he rocked Usyk pretty bad. And he went for the kill, and he couldn't get him out of there because Usyk, Jesus Christ, he's fighting for an entire nation. The guy who came off the front lines of war, he's not fucking around. Couldn't get him out of there, and he just gassed, and that's where Usyk made up the, you know, he kind of gained a lot of ground, especially in round 10, because he came out like a bat out of hell, dude. And if Joshua was not gassed after the flurry round 9, he was definitely gassed after that, because Usyk was swinging for the fences, just landing huge combinations. Yeah, man. I mean, Alexander Usyk, he's at that point now where, like, the whole storyline's really about Joshua. And, like, oh my god, we lost the Joshua Fury fight. But, like, that's not very interesting to me. Usyk's entering, and a lot of people are talking about it, he's entering generational territory. Like, undefeated cruiserweight.
What if he beats Fury?
He's that good. He was a former unified champion at cruiserweight. If he comes up and beats Fury, he's a unified heavyweight champion. You've got to put him in that, not in the GOAT discussion maybe, but in the top 10 discussion.
It's pretty goated though.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put him in that top. I'd say I'd feel comfortable putting him in top 10. Like,
has anybody else done that?
Huh?
Has anybody else done that? Like, has anybody else done that in those higher weight classes?
It's a good question.
Exactly. That's why I'm bringing it up.
I think was Evander unified? I can't remember Evander, because I know Evander was a unified cruiserweight champion, I believe.
I have to do some quick research right here.
Yeah, do some research on that, because I think Evander might be. I know that he was undisputed at cruiserweight, but I don't know if undisputed at heavyweight.
I doubt it, especially at that time. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, if Usyk can go out there and he was unified cruiserweight, and he beat, but Tony Bellew, Marius Briedis, especially that fight was fucking ruled. If you guys have not seen that one, Marco Huck, Michael Hunter. I mean, he beats some monsters down there. It comes up and beats Chisora, beats Joshua twice, and then if he could beat Fury, like I said, that's generational territory, and that's not even including like his run at the Olympics where he got gold. I mean, like I said, guys, like if he can win this fight, he's in generational territory, and that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, obviously, because we're still a ways away from him even fighting Fury. If we're going to see if that's going to happen, I'm inclined to believe that it does. Just because I think Tyson Fury, if he doesn't, I think he's very well aware of his legacy, and if he does not come back and fight Alexander Usyk, how much it's like a scarlet letter that would be on like his legacy. I think he's aware of that, I hope he does. I really, really hope he does, because I think that'd be an excellent fight, man. I know that everybody's I think Fury's already I think they've already put up a line for it. Fury's already a pretty substantial favorite. And I'm like, man, you guys show some respect to that boy from Kyiv, though, man. And that kid's, I say he's a kid, he's 35, but Alexander Usyk, he's in generational territory, and I think a match with Tyson Fury could be insane. But, any closing thoughts on this one before we move on?
No, none specifically, man. I think we covered it well. He had an amazing story behind him. He got the win. He's setting himself up for greatness. He's already great as it is, but it's still going.
For sure, man. And we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Next up, Kayla Harrison took on Larissa Particular. She took on a woman whose name I can't even remember. It was pretty much clear.
It doesn't matter, Josh. It doesn't matter. You already know it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I know that at this point, Kayla's the draw, and she's going to be fighting. Now we know she's going to be fighting Larissa Pachenko. There's going to be a trilogy. I don't think there's a date set for this one yet, but that's going to be the finals. And this is also going to be Kayla Harrison. She already said it's going to be her last fight in the tournament format. And Larissa Pachenko's coming in. She's won 5 fights by knockout, all by knockout, first round knockout, since her rematch with Kayla Harrison in December 2019. Look, man, Kayla Harrison gets a lot of shit. People say she's a can crusher. People say she's this, she's that. Larissa Pachenko is the real fucking deal, and this is an excellent fight, man. What do you think?
They've had bouts before, man. I think the big thing for us is Pachenko coming out and, she needs to show us something, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Against Kayla, and really prove that, she deserves to be in there with her. I'm not going to say she doesn't, but give us something. Scare us. You know what I mean? Make us second guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing for Pachenko. And for Kayla, continue being great, which, you're doing, so.
Yeah. And I think she's that. A lot of people shit on Kayla. Like I've always said, for me, it's more so winning the fight, and how you do it than depending on, your competition. You know what I mean? Cause, Kayla Harrison's very clearly the real deal. If you don't think that she's the real deal at this point, I don't know what to say to you. Larissa Pachenko is very, very good. She's beaten her twice. Kayla Harrison has not lost a round, dude. I understand her competition level is not the greatest, but she has some solid names in there, Maybe not world beaters, but Larissa Pachenko, I think if Larissa Pachenko's in the UFC, she's maybe even top 10. She's very, very good. But yeah, I hope Kayla Harrison gets a big fight. I'd like to see her fight Julia Budd maybe after this one. I know she said she's done with the tournament format, so we'll see what happens, man. Because I think Kayla Harrison, this is an excellent fight, especially the children. Because I think Larissa Pachinko, man, she's made up a lot of ground. It's been 3 years. She looks very, very good now. So we'll see what happens. But in terms of fight that we know that has a date, Demetrius Johnson will face Gino Moraes this Friday on Amazon Prime. Yes, it is ONE's first show on Amazon Prime, which is kind of funny because this fight is happening, like, whenever DJ first fought Gino Moraes, it was ONE on TNT One.
Isn't that crazy?
Once again, I don't know if they're still on TNT, by the way.
I don't think so because I think they have like a full-on Amazon deal now.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm very, very excited for this card, man. Very, very good, and especially that main event, man. Gino Moraes, Demetrius Johnson. It's the only MMA going down this week, so ONE's doing the right thing. Like they got all the spotlight. They got a lot of other good fights on this card. Nong Oting on Liam Harrison, Rodtang's back, Marcus Almeida, Amir Akbar taking on Mauro Sorelli. I mean, there's a lot of very good fights on this card. But what do you think about that main event, man? I mean, we've been kind of the DJ. We've been talking with DJ being the GOAT for a long time, man, and getting another championship and redeeming a loss that he had. DJ's undefeated rematches. What do you think about this fight, man?
I'm curious to see what happens this time. Obviously, the knee was a big thing. It was the controversy at the time. I need to sneeze. Please take over first.
Okay, yeah. The first one was obviously, the first fight last year was obviously a knockout loss for DJ, and that was actually the only knockout loss of his career to date. Gino Moraes he's a fucking real deal. Since then, he beat Yuya Wakamatsu via submission in March at 1X. And on that same card, DJ beat Rodtang in an awesome mixed rules fight. That fight fucking ruled. And yeah, that's why he's getting the title shot. So go ahead.
No, like I was saying, the knee was the big thing at the time because obviously the grounded opponent rule is different over there in ONE. And I mean, there's some people who think it should be how it is, and the rules are what they are. DJ got hit with it, and he has to know how to defend that if he does end up in that position again. I guess the big thing for us was like Adriano looked fucking huge in there. We're gonna see how DJ's gonna deal with that, and obviously I think there was still a lot to be seen. I think we need to learn a lot more in this fight, and it's a hard one for DJ, man. I think this one's very, very important legacy wise in a way for him.
Mm-hmm. And I think his legacy is secure. He's 36 now. But even then, I think his legacy outside of the UFC can grow. You know? I think he's starting to get like a lot of fan love. Because like everybody kind of knows his career is winding down. Especially the fact that he had the balls to go fight Rodtang in a mixed rules fight really made a lot of people be like, oh yeah, this guy is, like, he's that awesome. Like, he's that guy, dude. And a fight here, if he can win and redeem himself, and maybe this even sets up a trilogy. I mean, this has a lot of potential, dude. If ONE can go out there and put on this fight and DJ wins, they have the because DJ's kind of been the face of ONE for a while. At least in my opinion, he's one of the faces. I don't think it's fair to say that he is the face, but he's one of the faces of ONE for a while.
Who is the face of ONE, though?
I'd say Angela Lee, probably. Angela Lee's probably their biggest star.
I mean, she's definitely up there for sure.
I mean, who else could it be?
DJ's up there. I mean, Rodtang's up there.
I'd say like those three are the biggest. Like, I don't think it's one person, honestly.
No, definitely not the moment. I mean, they have Aoki. I mean, they got a number of people.
They do. ONE's in a good place. For the first time in like a while now, like, ONE is in a good place, you know. And I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go, Angel. You know, like, you know, we talked about in the green room my issues with ONE. I'm letting it go. You know, I'm letting it go because this fight.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of personal growth, you know, but
you've been going to therapy.
Yeah, I've gone to therapy. You know, I'm not going to name any names because they don't pay us any money, but you know, there's probably, you know, a service out there that is advertised on every single podcast, so you guys know the one I'm talking about.
You know, it's funny. I heard that one today.
Yeah, so did I. That's why it's on the mind. But yeah, man. DJ versus Gino Moraes 2, excellent fight. Very excited for it. It's on Amazon Prime on Friday. I believe card starts at 8. I'm gonna be watching.
He was gonna say it's at a friendly time, so
yeah, thankfully, because I feel like one's kind of shot themselves in the foot. I understand they're an Asia-based promotion, but like, if you want to make some ground in the U.S., you're gonna have to make some concessions, and this is one of those concessions. So it's at 8 o'clock our time, so that's pretty sick.
On a Friday night. What else are you gonna do on a Friday night?
Watch the rehearsal on HBO.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but, instead of, whacking off and not doing anything, go watch some fights.
Especially considering it's only MMA this weekend, but yeah, it's a pretty solid card, man. But yeah, in terms of fight announcements, another fight with a date, bit of a strange one. Tony El Kukui Ferguson. We heard for a while now, for the last few weeks, I personally heard that UFC's looking at adding some stuff to UFC 279. That's obviously main evented by Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz, going down to the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I've heard that they've been looking at fights to add for a while because they know that that's like a fight that not a lot of people are interested in. Everybody likes Khamzat, everybody likes Nate, but in terms of like a stylistic matchup, like that's, it's not very intriguing, not very enticing. And the undercard is probably the worst undercard of any pay-per-view this year. I didn't say card, I said pay-per-view. I just want to quickly say that. Because there are good fights on pay-per-view, but for a pay-per-view, you're looking for a lot more than what they were offering. So their solution, they got Tony Ferguson, who had talked, I know that he's mentioned going up to 170. He's making the move, dude. He obviously won the Ultimate Fighter at 170. He fought the first half of his, not first half, but like the first, I guess I'd say quarter of his career up at 170. And now he's been taking on the Leech, Li Jingliang. This is probably one of the most random matchups in a long time, but it's one of those random matchups where you're thinking like, oh, that actually sounds kind of like a banger if everything goes well. What do you think about this one? And what do you think about the decision to have Tony, who just got knocked out back in May, fight this monster up at 170?
It's crazy, man. I did not expect this announcement at all. I never thought I would ever expect this matchup. I didn't even think it was in the realm of possibility ever in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of like the base of it, man. I never could have foreseen this, to put it quite simply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't see this coming at all. I mean, I think if Tony Ferguson was going to fight, I think there's a lot of fights that would be interesting. This is a fight that I hate for Tony at this point in his career. I think Tony at this point in his career, he should be if he's going to move to 170, there's not even like a limited amount of names, dude. Like he could fight so many guys. Like he could fight not even a 170 or 155. He could fight Jim Miller, Joe Lozon. He could fight Nick Diaz. He could fight
Robbie Lawler,
Brian Barberena. He could fight Court McGee or something. I don't know. Like there's older vets in the game who are around.
As Condit to come out of retirement.
Damian Maia said he still wants one more fight. There you go.
Let's go, champ.
Instead, he's fighting the Leech, who is one of the most he's one of the hardest hitters at 170. And like I understand, there's a pathway to victory here for Tony. Let me just say that. Like this is a fight where
motherfucker.
He could. If the Leech has an issue, it's that he struggles with guys who pressure, who can mix in the wrestling and the striking. We saw that in the Neil Magny fight. We've seen that in obviously his loss to Chimaev, where he just got instantly drowned, Yeah. But I don't know.
My Damian Maia hype, by the way. I don't know if you showed any love for that.
The Damian Maia hype?
Yeah, did you hear me say "Let's go, champ"?
No, I mean I love Damian Maia, but I don't think the UFC's going to bring him back. He's a free agent, and he said he wants one more fight. He wants a retirement fight with the UFC, but it just hasn't happened.
Yeah,
which is shitty because I don't know, man. That guy's such a legend, and
he's a good guy.
He is a good guy, but UFC just doesn't want to give him a shot apparently for some reason. Does not want to give him one final fight. But yeah, man, this is a weird matchup. I think it's an oddly compelling one. I definitely don't hate it. A lot of people were hating this matchup, and I get why they were. But like, it's one where it's like, I could see Tony winning it. I could also see him losing it. So, definitely just depends on how he mixes it up and how he looks at 170. That's the biggest unknown. We've not seen him fight at 170 in a long time. We saw him fight, obviously, Michael Chandler earlier this year, and he looked good before the finish. So, maybe he has that fire back, and maybe going up to 170 is something that's going to help him. So, yeah, man, last bit of news. Your boy, dude, he got it done.
He did it, baby. He did it. He was made for this.
He brought it home. Mike Perry defeating Michael Venom Page at Bksu London. This fight had the world's attention. It happened right before AJ Usyk. UFC was not on. And, yeah, man, this fight ruled. They went to a 6th round after a draw. Both guys got knocked down. They both had that dog in them. And they just brought it back, dude. Hell of a fight, but ended up being Mike Perry getting the majority decision win, I believe. And, look, man, he did it. What are your thoughts?
It's nice to see a guy succeeding out of the UFC, man, who was at one point in the UFC and is finding it in a different sport and is trying to build it up. And he's doing it, man. He's winning and he's doing it the right way and he's getting all this attention. He's making good money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And, he's making good money and he's the guy that is, like, it's not even a joke. Like, he's built for this, you know? And I saw a lot of people shitting on MVP, and I want to go and say, like, Mike Perry is very, very good if he's dedicated. He was dedicated for this fight. He's been dedicated for his last few fights. And, you know, he just, MVP, he's not bad. This is not but bare knuckle's not a thing that suits him super well. I don't think he looked bad. I mean, I thought he had some good moments in there. He obviously got a knockdown near the finish, Mike a couple times. Just Mike Perry's built like the Terminator and just kept on walking forward and was not going to be finished. If they want to, I know Mike Perry said he wants to rematch. MVP said I'm down for it, but there's a lot other people than me who would have to make that decision, which essentially means Bellator and, you know, God knows their plans for him. I think, honestly, a rematch in Bellator makes a lot of sense under MMA rules, but obviously we'll see what happens, man. Yeah, man, just solid performance. It was a very fun card, very fun weekend of fights. We had BKFC, UFC, a huge heavyweight championship boxing match, dude. We had PFL on Saturday. We ran the gambit, and now this weekend there's a lack of action. No UFC, no PFL, no Bellator. We are getting one championship on Friday, and KSI making his boxing return on Saturday. We love that shit. Let's go. As far as the show goes, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Ortega_01 at Courtside Sound for all things relating to the show. RogueEnergy.com, code Soundoff if you want to support yourself and your immune system. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.